record video.
So you've resumed the once again with these headsets. I don't know if it's the same with
Oh
others.
no, it is.
You
It's
kind of have to
back.
fight in order just to keep the reasonable, service that you had before. And it's like,
Oh no, no, it came back, but it's not as bad. Anyway, I can deal with that.
all right,
All right. So anyway, I'll just shut my left eye like a sniper. Um, how do you want to do it? I got some software to talk about.
yeah, software's
Software.
good.
Software's good. Okay, okay. Bunch of new features. Finally got them all out. You can see that when you start a blank agent, your workspace now comes with these @ things, which are just little shortcuts to, like, @self is your agent directory so that you can see the agent toml. If you want, I got extensions installed now, so you get syntax highlighting in the agent toml. The mermaid extension is in there too. That is annoying. I'll turn it off. And you can see inside all the files, whatever, what to do. Then there's the computer shortcut, which just shows you what's in the computer. So that's like your repos, your images. So here you can see I've got like a VS Code info image. I've got a default image. I can.
You're still inside the head Martin at this point, so it's looking one up to its computer that's running it.
Yeah,
right?
this is the computer that's running head Martin. So if you look in here, you come down and you're like head Martin, and that's you.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Okay,
Yep.
and then one level up still gives you network.
Ooh.
Network is all the computers. So right now there's the test computer, and there's this org agent containers computer that's quickly becoming the place where I store hosting level stuff. So in this computer, there's a repo called, first of all, repo container images. This is where the host images get pulled from. So each time a new Docker image gets made, it writes it here. And this is what gets booted when you create a new machine.
Okay.
And the second repo in here is called OpenAI requests. And in there, you can open up and see the exact payloads that were being sent to OpenAI each time you make a request.
Okay, all right, so you can drill down.
Yeah, so probably don't need all the headers, but I mean, the headers help a little bit. But you can see that you get things like, if I turn on line wrap here for us, you can see the exact prompt that's coming in from the vendors. Like, this is what.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right, because that's the payload that OpenAI sees. So this is the full sys prompt that's been sent through.
There's a lot of do nots. There's there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's interesting because
Right.
I remember.
And then
whack. So go.
Then you get the next round of sort of what's it called, like user level but still system level, like that's just saying like what your sandbox mode is and all that. So these terms are referenced in the big prompt up here, and now you're sort of adding in user grade stuff. And then yeah, that's that.
That's actually remarkably fascinating.
So that's the wire. And why that's cool is because, first of all, we can guarantee that we know what's going on. But where is it? Hang on. This is all just the messages. What I wanted to get to was the tool calls, because that was actually the hard thing to do. Oh god, some of this shit, right? You need a bot to just fucking deal with it all.
Yeah, but it's just text. It's cheap, isn't it? Storage,
Storage is
real cheap,
nothing,
real cheap.
nothing. Right, here we go. Tools. So this is how, like, because remember that bug I had where the schema that I was passing in as the tool parameters definition was being clobbered by the Codex CLI harness.
Yeah.
But this is a way that I can see absolutely what um, what the functions are, but you can also see what tools get passed in by the CLI harness itself. So
Mm-hmm.
so these ones are these tools are, this is the shell tool that was passed in from Codex CLI. Um, the list resources thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is from the Codex CLI.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
the plan tool, like the update plan bit that they added. Apply patch, which gives them. You know, remember how we struggled for ages with hell on like what's the best way
Whoa,
to
look
update
at
a
that
big file?
definition. Look at that definition. That's like hieroglyphics.
Yep. The web search tool is enabled, so I know for sure that it's actually in there. Um, Now we get on to the things that I supplied. So MCP double underscore platform. So platform was the MCP server name, and
Yep.
then agent create is the function. And this is how I can see what the output description
Mm-hmm.
and the schema, like the properties, like where what's required. So from that, I can see that description is optional because it's not in required. Like this proves beyond a doubt. Like this is closing the loop on what in fact has what's been sent.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think will be extremely useful. It will prove invaluable when, like, I want to move us to having some options as to which models we call. Like, I'd like to be able to set up the Grok for Fast and Grok for Coder, the Coder Fast
Mm-hmm.
model.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I do that, then I really need to see what's going on in here to make sure that we're sending the calls out with fidelity and we're not like missing something or doing something stupid that means the system can't perform intelligently just because we didn't fill in some fields somewhere.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be a steady number of new models coming through. I think Grok 5 is lined up for January, I think. Um,
January, that's a while
yeah,
away.
yeah, but they're already foreshadowing it. What's the method? Do we need an agent in order to ingest a new model and make it behave?
No, it'll probably just be by hand. I think
Oh,
they're not terribly hard to set up. It's just you kind of need to fit it precisely. It might
okay,
not be feasible as well. Like I'd need to notice when it's not possible to do.
right, okay, all right.
But and then ideally we'd go through OpenRouter. But I need to know that the functions are losslessly making it all the way through to OpenAI and back.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any more thoughts on the value of being on that OpenRouter leaderboard in any way?
It's I'm not sure how many people visit that page. It's bragging rights, right?
Yep.
I think it's not more than that. I
So
don't.
is there a value to bragging rights? Basically, um,
Well, bragging rights and push.
promotion.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, look at us. Um, I don't think anyone's going to be looking at that leaderboard, particularly unless you're deep in it, in which case you're just perhaps going to go, ooh, that's interesting.
Isn't that kind of the
Um,
people we'd want?
yeah, possibly. Um, but in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of kind of pool marketing, I don't think it's got that much value. I think we should just let it flop to where it wants to go. If we get on the leaderboard, that's cool. But I don't think we should over-index it.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I can choose to have us use the OpenAI service directly, or I can route us through OpenRouter and get on the leaderboard. The risk of going through OpenRouter is that there may be some nuances in how these functions get passed around. I think it's okay, but it might be something else. So that's a risk. There's a benefit in that once we're connected to OpenRouter, we can switch to other OpenRouter models just to see how things go. And I think we do need to broaden our ability to use different models. Whether or not they can all handle the full blown codex toolset, I don't think that matters. Like, even just being able to call on DeepSeek with no effort, where you just say to an agent, hey, I want to talk to DeepSeek, ask DeepSeek about this thing. That seems kind of useful.
Yeah, yeah. And that model switching is going to be important. So not so much the leaderboard. The leaderboard
Mm,
kind of does whatever it does.
right. The
But the
switchability, right? So, okay, so
yeah,
what are we talking about? We're saying the capability to connect on Open Router and pick a model from Open Router is important to us.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've got some evidence on that one, but
Okay. Well, that's that. I've got first of all, things auto load at the start much nicer. So this is like a brand new agent. Um, I got 2,000 machines for us. They
that's not
seem
bad. Yeah.
they seem pretty cool with it, but they were like, please don't shock load it. Like, don't try and start 2,000 machines all at once. Like,
Oh,
don't
be
try and
nice.
create.
All right.
No, it was don't try and create 2,000 machines all at once. They were like, it'll probably be okay, but we'd rather that you didn't. And I'm like, no problem. It's not what I was aiming for. Um,
No, that's fair enough. That's like inrush current, isn't it? Um,
yeah, for what,
it, it,
right? Because it's all like
yeah,
little machines, and they're like, you just
it'd be quite rude. But also, we don't need to because we can have long-lasting machines.
the more machines we have doing any given task, the more forgiving we can be for the slowness of the machine to boot. You know, like it's
Yeah.
not. So I made it now. It boots and runs codecs straight off the bat now. So this is a brand
What's
new.
that at the What's that at the top
I
left?
got no idea. I got no idea. I'm sorry. Some kind of garbled shit, whatever. Um, so yeah, it boots codec straight away, and you just get dropped straight into this thing. Um, I can't get rid of this panel, but I don't care enough to fucking do something about it. Uh, kind of everything just works really. The big change that I've implemented now, if you look at the what's happened here with
Mm-hmm.
this chat, um, I was like, make an agent, tell it to be an expert in answering questions about the code base, and then check out that repo to the agent. So it was like, hey, what repos have I got? Okay, you've got this one repo, right? Which I can confirm by looking under computer repos. I've got exactly one repo at the
Uh-huh.
computer level. And then I
Okay.
said, make an agent, telling it to be an expert in that code base, and then check out that repo into the agent. And it's like, okay, I just made uh, continuing louse.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And then it set the working instructions. So I could go into continuing Laos. I'm not going to. And then I said, now make an image out of it named VS Code and create a new agent from that image.
Oh, okay. All right. What happens there when you do that? There you go.
Well, a minor error occurred in that but I'm not sure it's an error. First of all, if I look at my self, so if I look at my computer, the image named VS Code is not here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if I
Mm-hmm.
look at self, the image named VS Code is here. So by default, it's kind of flopped to making the image scoped to myself or my own agent, which I'm looking for some guidance here. I think that's what you want. I think you want to, by default, err on the side of scoping the image to your local agent, and only when you're ready to hoist it up to the computer level do you want it to be placed,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. Because
right.
you're still messing around with it. It's like
Yeah, you're
you
still
haven't.
you're still you're still futzing with it, right? Like this is
Yeah.
actually the development cycle in a
Yeah.
funny way. It's not the built thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, you got you effectively you've got your dev thread. You've got a target thread where you can test it, and then you publish it.
yeah,
Same, same as software development. So the
right.
issues.
But it's much more fluid, right? And what I found was nice about this model is very direct, because what it means is I can say something like, ask it how it's doing today, and then I can tell this agent to fix that agent because it didn't answer how I wanted. So I'm like, I wanted it to use a unicorn emoji, but it didn't. Make it so.
Yeah.
And then it will loop around, changing the parameters of the agent and testing it until it's like, hey, I did it. It does this thing. And then you're like, right, well, make it an image and then promote it to the computer level.
Yeah. 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 There's a quite an important cognitive step where you decide I'm not going to be embarrassed by letting all my colleagues use this image
Hmm.
because uh,
Yeah, it's
I
had
think it works. It
some
might probably
some
doesn't,
effort,
but
some care has gone into it, right? And
yeah,
then the other consequence that I stumbled upon was to say, see how in myself, the self agent, I've got the VS Code image. If I
yeah,
was to make an image out of myself, I think that I would expect the images within myself to come with it, so that when I booted the new image that was made, and then I asked for VS Code, it would use the local internal version of the image to boot the next agent,
well,
right?
yeah, 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 because you're
All right.
effectively copying yourself into an image, and
Right. So really what we're talking about there is images is the equivalent of package dependencies in a software system.
yep,
And when you
yep,
say image, you're turning the running code into like a committed, frozen, consumable, published ish version. And we got these two modes of publishing. It's like internal or external, where internal means you can ship a whole system with names that are overriding popular or computer level images because that's what suits your purpose.
that begs the question about what happens if an image is improved by, even so you've got yourself with your images that you can publish yourself, and but yourself continues on in the thread,
Yeah.
and you improve, in this case, VS Code
Right.
image.
Right.
Um, so do you republish? Is it like a version thing?
Yeah. I haven't hooked up version control, but that's really it. Like you publish in its version. Now, if we had Git, I wouldn't have to do any version control because it's just like the lineage of Git takes care of that. But
Yeah.
we don't have Git, and I'm sort of like, at the moment, we're not having any version control issues yet. And ultimately, we would like the version control to be managed by bots so that you don't have to think about publishing. Publishing just occurs at these various levels once an agent decides a threshold has been passed. So the the general principle of the system seems to be that we want to use it freely without thinking about the consequences of our actions, which implies sandbox like properties. But
Yep.
we also don't want to have to declare improvements that we've made in the platform, and far less do we want to declare improvements that have occurred in response to our actions. So what that means is that one of the key tenets, I think, of the Dreamcatcher is agents running in the background that are looking for problems that you have stumbled upon or created, or areas where we think that the response could have been better, working away without being told proactively to improve the image. And so, really, where we want to get to very quickly is that it's those background processes that decide when improvement has occurred enough to warrant publishing a new version. So it's this act of publishing ourselves is really only a short term, it's a weird thing while we don't have the cruise control
That would
aspect.
be that'd be awesome if we can get to that stage because, well, even simplistically, if you made changes inside of uh, self to VS Code, but also because you're changing VS Code inside of self and you've published self, you kind of want everyone else to benefit, but only when all the tests run
Right,
come back with
right,
something
right,
useful.
right. But even then, like, you kind of want to just work on the agent and try and improve it, and then have the essence of the improvements you made be distilled down, copied over, and digested by agents to be widely available. You don't want to have to think about that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's right.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely. You want
typically what a human had to do, and that's why software sucks, because it's like it costs you more effort to package, publish, and argue why this thing is better than it does to actually make the change, which is even more effort than to discover the problem.
and then stands that these agents, I absolutely agree um, on publication should be an automatic thing based on agents, but also rollback. It's like, hey, the agents thought this would be useful, but now there's a whole bunch of usage which seems to be going wrong.
Yeah.
Right, let's roll back and create a stuck, and let's try and
Yeah,
fix
yeah.
that.
Now, this is a controversial statement to make, but I think that in the current rendition we got here, you have all the tools that are required to set up that system.
I don't know yet until trying it, but it seems to be.
All right. Should we set that as a goal? Because that's when we know. That's when we know one of the parts of the Dreamcatcher that we wanted is present. Is when that's happening, right? The
Yeah.
software publication system. The improve. This is how. What was the word for it in evolutionary terms? The inheritance of the survival of the fittest.
So
That process.
let me give a shot at that. How to do that? So probably um, there'll be an agent which is kind of the oversight agent that's looking at what the intent of the image is and understands that the image is also being worked on, and it goes, oh, hey, that could be quite useful against what you. That's why you need the intent, and then would publish. It would then look at usage, from others or the same, um, and go, yeah, it didn't quite work, did it? So let's roll back.
Yep.
Um, so that's a workflow. How to do that? Can you walk me through? Because I know conceptually how to do that, but in terms of,
Hmm.
right, where's the which image are we talking about? When we're talking about oversight
Yeah, I don't
agent,
know is the straight up answer, but let me have a poke at it. Like, I know that all the pieces are here. I just don't know how to assemble them properly.
okay,
Um, so
um,
you
okay,
definitely want access to. You'd want a bot that was looking at this file,
roll out.
which
Why
is,
that file?
well, that represents the Why is my button
Home
not
sessions
working?
roll out.
Oh, here we go. Sorry. Um, this is the log of Codex. Like, this is all the stuff that Codex did. A simpler version of it, just to show you what it's all about, would be like this file. Okay,
Oh, so
so
you could take, or you could take tail, because you don't need to bother the bot with the entire thing. Then
yeah, but I mean
so
the concept is that at the moment we have these bots that we humans interact with. We need to have background bots that are triggered off every time there is any interaction from a human or any finished response from a bot, like their turn finished and they committed some files, to then take that and begin this improvement loop.
So what I'd suggest is the first thing is a bit of a hello world to create a running image that just tells you the time every 10 minutes and writes it to a file.
And
So
so you want a cron trigger, like you want to trigger
yeah,
on time. Why do you
yeah,
want that?
because most of these will be triggered on events, and time is an easy one.
Okay, so you want time trigger that does what? Like, does it? What does it say? Is it
Just six bells and all is well, nine bells and all is well.
no? Like,
It can do that.
so you've got an agent. It's a you've named this agent, and you want it to be like kicked every 10 minutes. I think you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what am I
The
kicking it with? Am I being like, is it being told to generate the next turn, or is it being
um
told to like, is there a job that's written in English that every time the cron goes, it starts a new thread with that agent and goes, hey, go look at these files, see if anything changed, and then decide if you need to take any further action.
very similar to the second one. So what I'd want to do is in natural language say something like um, uh, check this target file trivially for any changes and check it every hour, 10 minutes, whatever, and it would therefore need to know what was prior and what was just happened, and it would print out to a text file saying, at 0100 no changes, 0200 no changes, 0300 lots of changes. And then the next step would be, okay, lots of changes, are they significant enough to trigger another workflow, which maybe these are good changes, let's elevate them into a public image. The cron is just the easiest way of doing that. You could easily
No,
do
it is not. The easiest way to do that is like, if that's your end goal,
it.
I will make you cron. I'm happy to make you cron. I'm not fighting that. We need cron, but the easiest way to achieve what you're talking about is to provide some file paths and be like trigger on changes
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
really the easiest one because that's also super efficient because if no changes occurred, then this agent just sleeps. But every time there's a every time there's a file change, and it can be broad, like for example, um, it can be, anytime any agent changed, call this agent,
Yeah.
right?
And we could also put in logic in there saying don't do it on every keystroke because that's
Yeah,
stupid.
so you want debounce parameters, so that would be like uh every time there's a change, wait for a minute and
Yeah.
see if there's any new changes. If there were, just hold off, but don't wait longer than 10 minutes, for example. So those are just like, traditional debounce parameters where you just say, like, I don't want you to flood me, but here's a change. And then, if there is a change, don't fire another one until the current run has finished. If
Yeah.
some more changes occur during the current run, rerun the run at least once. So what you're asking for is you ultimately want to have one complete run where no files changed, and then you'll call that done and go back to sleep,
That's right.
for
And
example.
actually,
Okay.
that's a better start for 10 than cron, to be honest,
Yeah, because
because
cron's easy, but it's also dead. Like it's dumb. It's
yeah.
not. It's then got to go find the file changes. Okay, so the file change trigger means that some agent changed, and then am I? What do you want? I think you do. You want to know if it was from a human, or you want to know if it was from anything like the machine?
What we want is that has there been an improvement? That improvement should not care whether it's a human or a machine, but it should then trigger a work path which says better or worse.
What
Um,
what is better than what? Like,
uh,
what's the subject and the
well,
is it the
this is
predicate?
why yeah, it needs to know what the intent is. It's like, is this going closer to the intent or further away in intent? If it's further away, I'll let you work on it a bit longer. Uh,
Oh, I think
if
I know
it's
what you want. I think you want a repo with the current appraisals of intent and performance for each agent. So you want to, like, you don't want to hit those files raw every time and you're like, oh, ta-da, some new stuff. You want to have a process in place that grinds through what's happening and distills it down to notes. Like, it's like, this whole chunk was this intent, I think, and it tried to do XYZ, but that was not very good for these reasons. And so it's sort of like it it keeps notes, and the purpose of this bot is to build up the notes,
yeah, it
that,
needs
right,
to do that because
like
it
a
needs to know all the
psychologist
history.
that's
Yeah,
observing these other creatures, and it's making notes about each creature.
yeah,
The
yeah,
creature does
exactly.
whatever the creature's going to do, right? Like, that's like nature's let the animals be free. Nature's recording notes or taking notes, and then that triggers what are we going to do about it,
Yeah,
right?
and the notes point is really important because how can it tell better or worse without having some idea of history? Um,
You got to have
so
history, right? Like
yeah, you got
that's yeah,
the head mark and your course. It's like going a bit too far
right.
into circles.
So are
Yeah,
we saying that for each agent, then this machine is going to build up a distilled set of evals where it looks at what is being asked of the agent all the time, and it looks at its output, and then it tries to distill those down to like half a dozen or a dozen sort of exemplar kinds of questions to avoid having to run the full suite with all the noise that entails. It's saying, well, I'm focusing down on these key indicator, they're like litmus test
Yeah.
runs, and it's
Yeah.
like this is how you start it, and this is what I think I should get back, and then that's what it uses to work on to sort of what's the word? It needs to pin the agent's possibilities down with these key. They're almost like requirements. Like there'd be a small number like 12 key
Yeah.
prompts that are orthogonal, like they're different to each other, but they're used to sort of get the rough cut done before you do
Right.
like the fine little tweaking that comes
Well,
in from just the usage.
the fine tweaking should and can, um, relatively convinced, also be automated. If you have that history, you've effectively got branches, and some branches die, and some become the flame front of the entire thing. But on occasion, because it'll probably be quite expensive, to run through and say, okay, this one that died, um, let me run everything I now know on the flame front through the dead branch, and maybe that dead branch is going to ultimately end up closer to the intent.
Right, but that seems complex. It seems doable. It also seems one option of many. Like we just happen to like that one now.
Yeah, that is a very good call out. Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. It seems to make sense, but there might be something, you
Well,
know,
the thing is,
more efficient.
there's possibly an unlimited number of ways that you could do the improvement algorithm. And so the improvement algorithm itself should be able to be subjected to improvement, and it should be able to do it without blowing itself up, like without,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, and yeah. I mean, essentially, what we're talking about is searching the topographical space of solutions, right?
Yeah, which we're
Um,
thinking is infinite because it's looking like a sort of, it's got a feeling like in factorial in terms of how quickly it multiplies as to where you could go, right? It's like the biggest number in the world is like infinity factorial
yeah, that's why
or
we need to
whatever.
throttle it, and that throttling itself can be heuristic in nature. It's like, it's going to take too long to figure out whether this dead branch from the very first thing you said, and you've been working on it for 3 months. Very first
Right, yeah, it needs to
branch
know
was
when
like,
to bail. It needs to know when to bail.
yeah.
So that's quite
Well,
a
that's kind of pruning, isn't it? That's kind of
pruning.
pruning
Yeah,
it.
that seems a bit more complex than what I want to do as a starter for 10.
Uh-huh.
Um,
But the for start for 10, the simplistic one where we are following a single path through the topology is better, worse.
yeah,
Um,
but well, not just better, worse, but better, worse, and here's me, the bot, fixing it without you having to lift a finger,
yeah,
right? And then you just end up with these new images popping up or new versions popping up, and the system handled the change control. Like it was like, well, I noticed these deficiencies, and someone had this idea on how to make it better, and I tweaked the bot so that it now passes these new requirements. I then verified there was no regression by running the old requirements, and therefore I think that it's better, and so I published a new version. And you're like,
yeah.
oh, okay, well, cool.
That also leads to back to what we are saying about version control, which you mentioned that is in hand. Because if one person is working on this image that another person relies on, um, and this person is going down a rabbit hole, it's like, what the hell are you doing? But local topography wise, it is making progress,
Mm.
but you can drift functionally way past the point where it actually does what you want it to do as the second
Yeah,
priority.
but that's a another key life cycle move is the split. where you recognize that there's a chunk of usage that is occurring, that for you to make a concise version of this agent and the changes you're planning to make to meet these other ideas require splitting. So you're like, that's two separate things. They're not compatible. The
Yeah,
old load stays over
and
here, and the new load moves over here.
yeah, and published images are dead cheap, and so why not? But then the onus comes on discovery, you know,
But Discovery is
all that kind of
agentic.
thing.
Discovery is
Yeah,
agentic, and you could pin a version, but I think that pinning in this case, like pinning made sense for conventional software. Pinning
pinning's not good.
doesn't make sense in the world of natural language because it's like, well, you if the software improvement was handled by a machine, what are you saving yourself from? Like, if it's able
That
to,
I
right,
agree.
if it's able to
Yeah,
split when it's like, well, you were asking open-ended questions, you want to ask
yeah.
a different type of open-ended question. It's like, well,
And it's worth to note that that splitting only becomes hugely inappropriate if you're asking a human brain to go through a list of
yeah, that's
2,000.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
it's that. That was 2,200.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
humans can't split, and they have this natural tendency to sort of glob it all together and just keep sort of painting the
which
turd. But
exactly.
this should be very light. It's like split.
Yeah.
I think that there's another life cycle method that has to occur as well, um, which is switch. So switch is when you keep asking an existing agent for solution, but it it turns out there's actually a different, better agent
Oh, I
for
like
you.
that. I like that because then you don't have to worry about the divergence
No, so
because
it feels
all
like
you're interested in is the answer.
what
Yeah,
we're trying to
yeah,
program in is this drive towards these units. Like, it's we don't know what a unit definition is. That sort of becomes apparent from the running of the machine, the grind, right? The grind produces these modular items that are distinct enough. And then when you start trying to use it for a purpose, you can either cause it to split because you've added functionality that now warrants its own independent entity, or you can be switched to something else where it's like, well, because the theory is, right, that there's only actually so many places on the utility map that you can ever be. And so
Oh,
if you're not,
that's interesting because then we could get usage data. If we automated this switching, we could allow old images to just wither on the vine, die because nobody cares.
that's kind of what
Uh,
yeah, it's kind of what you want, but we're also assuming that images are as whimsical as human software, but they're actually not really. They're really identifying a permanent need, and there are only so many things like that. Like, there's a
yeah,
countable number of things. That space is not infinite.
it's not. Um, this is a terrible analogy, but it sounds a little bit like the philosophy around UDP, right? It doesn't matter whether a packet doesn't get through. The next packet will deal with it. It's almost like images are, yeah, okay, we'll use it. Um, and if you have an agent selecting the image to spin up, that is the best at that time. It almost doesn't matter how many agents are being created and improved. You can go back and prune them, but probably we won't have to. The bottleneck will be in the probably a multipass agent going through the agents asking each, what are you for? What are you for? What are you for? And
Yeah,
then
well,
another one.
I mean, I think there's a natural. The system sort of self organizes very quickly, I think, into a number of, call it, local minima, and then you're like left with this sort of arsenal of things that have stabilized, and you're like, well, we
Well,
can
yeah,
keep
but
asking it more questions.
the problem with local minima is solved by what you just said about the switch, because suddenly you
Oh
can
yeah,
get
yeah,
power
but
from the thing.
no, I meant that the images themselves become local minima, and
Ah,
then
yes, by
that's what
definition they are.
yeah,
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
point is that local minima are sort of self-defining. It's not like you can start an agent anywhere on the board. It's gonna end up at a local minima and stay there. And then if you keep pushing it to be somewhere else, you're gonna end up with a different agent that's gonna fall into its own local minima in the idea space too. And so the system through usage naturally maps out all the local minima that are to be found for that type of usage and this type of model.
yeah. It's like it's like rolling a whole bunch of ball bearings down a topography, and it's like it doesn't matter how many ball bearings you've got. Um, what you want is the best ball bearing for what you're trying to do at the time. Maybe it's good enough. Maybe the search space is you know um, uh, very cheap on stopping. It's like if I find something that does what you want, I'm going to stop in that, and there's an image for it.
Mm.
Um, if your request, your intent is not reached, again, all this is
It's
pooled.
kind of like we actually need a purposeful feature in the system that tries to stay in those minimas. Like it's looking out for them, and it can actively say, look, this image is complete. If we add this extra functionality in here, we will be straddled between two minimas, so we need to make a new agent.
Yes, and you said something really interesting about 8 minutes ago or something. Clumping is
Clumping,
the
yeah,
kind of
that's
the
right.
opposite, and clumping is bad because you end up with bloat. Um, the local minima, presumably, depending on how we prompt it, will be the best way of solving the problem in that local minima.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
And
And you should not clump more things on it. You should
yeah,
move on.
yeah. And so actually, what we aim to do is it's almost like you want as many local minima problems solved as possible,
Yeah,
and
that's
then you
right.
want something sufficient to discover, and also as the user is giving additional prompt, do that switch.
Yeah, because
I'm really taken by the switch idea
yeah, what
you
we
have
end
put
up
down.
with that system is you end up with an agent library that can be considered almost complete. Like just
Yeah,
how you get like the C++ standard library or the JavaScript
yeah.
standard library. It's like,
One
well,
one steel ball bearing in every wee divot
it's
over the
yeah,
entire
yeah,
topography.
yeah. That's right. That's right. And you're like, it's pretty much like as done as it can be. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
So that
Um.
wandered quite a way away from the starter for 10 there. Um,
Yeah, but I think it's important because now, so where we came from, just to rewind a bit, I was thinking about the problem at hand. I mentioned cron, but I think debounce is a better way of doing it. It's like how do you auto,
Trigger.
how do you get how do you get a self-publishing repo?
Self-propelling repo. Yeah. So the trigger is essential. Like if you don't have trigger, then one of our metrics that we're failing badly on is how long does the machine run when I have stepped away from the keyboard. And right now it's only about 10 minutes, if that. But what it should be is I expect that we'll get like, 1 hour would be doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And then our 1 hour is great. But overnight, so like it was still running by the time I came back, that's even better. But the ultimate is um, unlimited. Can I try and
10
draw
mil,
you a picture?
yeah, 10 million years to get to the answer 42.
Um, I know what you mean. I'm just not. I got a metric I want to get out. I got fucking the thing. Ah. Oh yeah.
Oh, this, here you go, old friends. Ah, oh, okay.
What? What?
No, I was quite fond of that
It's
diagram.
old. You've got a copy of it. It's also been. It's old news. Old news.
Okay. That was like classic.
A classic. It was. Hey. Okay. So if the x-axis is time that it kept running, and the y-axis is number of jobs to do.
Okay.
So right now it's like I can do that. I can do this with style. Right now it's like bunk, and you're like, okay, 10 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Then we get as we get triggers going, we'll get like that's an hour, bonk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then as we get like more advanced agents and more data, we get that. But what we really want is that.
Yes, because
Right? Like that's the fucking that's the
if the y-axis is the number of jobs, those straight lines only show that you're churning over the same number of jobs.
we want it to go from burn down to like self perpetuating where like it fuck once it gets up here it starts to do this where like that's like resource limits, like buddy, we don't have that much money, settle down, you know.
Yeah. Or it could be limits on the search space as well. It's like there's no real perfect answer. There's a few bouncing around.
Yeah, right, so it's like clipping,
Yeah.
but the key thing is that I should be able to come back and there's more jobs have happened than what there were when I left. Like that's really the issue, is that the number of jobs, I define the jobs, and all that's happened here is it's got better at refining its answers. That's all I wanted to get out. It's just like there's a metric in there for us to know like these phases, right? Like this phase is like phase 1. This phase would be phase 2. Phase 3
Well,
is not terribly different, but this one, phase 4, that's like happy
well,
days.
the difference is self-evident, isn't it? So in the wiggly line, let's call it,
Yeah,
it is
the
finding
clipping.
problems that you didn't have at time zero. Time zero, you had
Right,
X problems, and
right,
it's like solving, some. It's finding new problems that you didn't know about, and it's going up and up and up.
right,
So it's almost like the rate of production of problems that trying to churn through what you said at time zero
right,
that are
right,
helpful.
right. Like it's gone out. So if you said a simple thing like retake the Falklands, in our current system, it'll go retake the Falklands. Okay, I got a bump.
Yeah,
Right, but what
yeah.
you really want is like spool up the aircraft
It's
carrier.
like, yeah, yeah. How are we going to get everyone down there? How are we going to feed them all?
Yeah, like
The troops
just
are on the ground now. Yeah,
discovering.
where
It's
are we going to
just
go? Yeah,
it's walking the knowledge space and discovering more necessities, whilst at the same time it's sort of it's still burning down. Like it's still solving problems, but it's able to re up the queue.
it's interesting that you did that wiggly bit at the top.
Well,
There should be a
that's
name for that because that seems like um, you've come to a convergence or an equilibrium of some
I
sort.
think that we're thinking about that line differently. So
Uh,
I'm thinking about that line as being external constraints, like we don't have the resources to pursue all possible paths,
hmm.
and so it has to make choices to dial back what it chooses to solve. Like it's saturated at that point.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it differently, but interesting enough, uh, I think it's the same wiggly line. So you're talking about external resources. I'm thinking about let's retake the Falklands thing. You know, you get to a point and it's like, should the choice be you eat this MRE today, you know, one trooper,
Yeah, so I
you know,
think
that
what
sort of thing.
you mean is that it would go sort of like that. Like it would
It's not
ultimately
quite
burn
right.
down through all the problems, but it's just the point is that it was able to find more problems to solve momentarily and then it solved them all,
Yes, I guess you're right.
right? Whereas I'm
And
talking
that
about that
would be,
this is the arc if you had infinite resources, but I'm saying that the clipping occurs because of resource constraints of the computer.
right. Yeah, yeah, because
And then
it's not
that's where
actually
you get
infinite.
that. But
Yeah,
you
that's what's.
ultimately, if you don't get burned down, then what have you? If you don't ultimately end and burn down, then you
Then
haven't.
you never, yeah, you never get to. I mean, this.
You're
Uh,
chasing a
you've kind of
myth.
got problems, but actually, what that is implying that you want to solve the problem. So you need to, at some point, hit the x-axis. So
Yeah,
zero
you need
problems
to.
left,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. You're gonna be stuck with
because otherwise
99
you've not solved
problems
it.
for
Yeah,
99 problems for like the rest of the. For, you're like,
yeah,
what is it?
yeah.
99 problems, and the OpenAI bill ain't one. Like,
Exactly. Yeah, 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 exactly. And I guess what I was saying, the reason I recognize the bumpy part of that is that downward eventual zero problem arc is lumpy,
mm.
but we don't need to consider that. But you're talking a kind of more practical level.
Yeah, yeah. So really, all I'm trying to poke at here is that like having this trigger, the triggers are the key to reaching the next stage, which is a longer burn down where it
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
the background process is the key. The background thinking is the
yeah,
key, and you've got to have triggers for that. And there's only two kinds of triggers in the whole system: time and change.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then, so
And
if I give you both those triggers, then so uh, how I think about that from a design point of view is that like I've been over this concept of the landing agent quite a lot, right? So you come in on a browser, and the browser is a trigger because it's triggering. It's an external trigger of activity, and the
mhm,
programmed path is find the learning agent, boot it. Okay, go. Right. But what I can also do is use that same concept as time. So you can have like images that are configured to be the cron image. Like at a time, this image is going to be fired up, and we're
oh
going to
yeah,
run it.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's the
It's
same as if a
indistinguishable.
browser had landed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then a
But also,
file change one as well is like this is the a file watcher image, and it's gonna run on. It's gonna watch this set of paths. Any change, bang, off goes the file changer.
I mean, what we're talking about there is a state change in all three.
Yeah,
They're all
external
just,
excitation. External
yeah,
excitation is a state change. Time is a state change, and file changes, which could only be the result of the other two types of change causing some change.
yes, and that has quite profound impact on the idea of a workflow. Before it was do this, then that, then that, then that.
Right.
But what we're now saying is you've got a big bucket of agents that are looking for the state change that they're interested in.
Right.
And it doesn't matter where the state change happens. Maybe it occurs if you had a normal workflow, you'd want this, then that, then that, then that. Maybe they come in at different times, and so you're looking for the state change. Like, oh, right, this guy finished earlier, so I'm going to do my piece of work, or can I do all my piece of work? Maybe I need to look for 3 state changes before I can fire off my job, which is inherently serial. Sorry, inherently parallel rather.
Mm. All right.
Much
So
better than a workflow. That's interesting.
all
But
right. So
how?
this thing captured the image, spun up a new agent, Head Martin, from the
Yep.
image,
Yep.
and then this was Head Martin. Head
Yep.
Martin has been provisioned, as you can see, with this repo, the Open VS Code server checked out in it.
Yep.
So that was, part of the programming. If I look at itself and look at its agent toml, I can see that it has been told to use a working instructions file of agents.md. I read
Mm-hmm.
agents.md. You are an expert assistant for the Open VS Code server repository. Focus on answering questions about it. So the programming of the image has made it into the agent, as has the provisioned repos.
Where did
And
they get that agents.md then? Did I look
this
at
was
the.
the so continuing Laos was the one that was created with the agents.md
Mm-hmm.
because it used agent set working instructions on continuing Laos with the file that it had been given, which was this file.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Um,
now that continuing Laos was running, I said make an image out of continuing Laos.
so it just copied the agent.md from continuing Laos
Correct. So
into
if I double
Martin.
check that by going into agents continuing Laos, agents.md, that's the exact same file.
Okay.
And
All
all
right.
it did was copy that into the image. I've also, at your request, made this thingy here, image provenance. So image provenance says that this agent.toml
Mm-hmm.
was made by or registered with the agent named permanent primate, which is this computer, the one that created it, and the
Mm-hmm.
image ID is VS Code. This is what you asked me for last time, because continuing Laos was started fresh or blank, and so it had no image provenance. We then made an image out of continuing Laos, and I made it so that it gets stamped with the image that was made from it.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Then further, if you
Excellent.
go into Head Martin and I look at myself in my agent toml, my image provenance says that the agent ID that my image was registered with is permanent primate. That
Yep.
line might not be there if the image was registered at the computer level, and the image ID is VS Code, and so that means that Head Martin came from this VS Code image, and so I should be able to say I want to talk to the VS Code role or something like that, and it would pull up Head Martin or this other one.
I didn't get that last part. I was with you right up to the last 20 seconds there.
Yeah, because now you've got two agents that are booted from this image, right? And so when you ask for and you don't care which one, it's kind of
Oh, I
random which
see.
one you get.
Right, right, right. And if there are 2 instances that do essentially the same thing, I don't really care.
No, no. So look, I mean the things you've asked for, I've done. Um, my dance, I guess, or my I'll call it like a tiptoe, is to try and make sure that all these things hang together before I go in there and clamp it down. Like make it actually spend some time making it solid and all that. Right? I'm trying to avoid that, so I'm trying to like
Yeah.
make it out of paper and then be like, "Is this what you mean?" And then
Yeah, yeah, because we've still got to stress test the thing.
yeah, but it's funny what we're stress testing. It's stress testing agentic patterns, and it doesn't
Well,
appear to be a lot on our side there.
this is the interesting thing, right? Because when I've been using this now because of various things, it was like what last Thursday, I think it was.
Mm.
Um, I was only talking in patterns because it's so easy to spin up an agent.
Mm. That's right. That's what's good about the system, right? It's
Yeah,
practically fucking free, and you're like, I don't
right.
even care. Just make a new one.
I'm not even sure whether we should describe it as agentic because it's not agentic. I don't really care. It's like,
What would you
right,
call it?
I'm not sure yet. We'll come back to that. But what I was doing, or what I flopped to doing because it was just so easy, is starting to think about workflows and about, the premises. Here's my intent. Here's what I want to do. How would you suggest to do that? Give me an ASCII chart thing I showed you all the time of the workflow. Looking at, I'm working in workflow, not agentic. But the interesting thing, and this is controversial, I'm not sure this is right yet, but at no point did I actually have to do any prompt engineering because it flopped to prompts that I could see the overall output of the workflow and go, yeah, that was wrong. Right. Who was responsible for that? Rewrite the prompt for that guy, tear down the old one, put up a new one, let's retry it. And I was getting a much, much faster cadence by working in workflow and not prompt engineering.
Not prompting it, right? You're just output. You're just appraising the output, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So there's probably some expansion on that you could do, where it's like each time you say that there's a problem, what you'd want is for it to synthesize a bunch of similar things that are around the same area so that it sort of adds synthetic load to your. You might call out one thing, it should be like, oh, well, I'm going to make this, and this, and then I'm going to solve this basket of problems, which should give a higher quality fix in the end, right?
Precisely, precisely. And the benefit of working at the problem space and the workflow space is prompt engineering is like fiddly, you can go in and change. Yeah, you're kind of tweaking words, you're tweaking phrases and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, takes a long time. You work in the workflow level, and you don't. You just trust the bots to create the prompts of the agents
Yeah,
as
and so,
defined by
but
the
that
output.
that is also the part that we should be automating, right? Because you should just be trying to use the thing.
Nope, what happened
Hello?
there? Yeah, still here.
Oh, the blue flickering stopped because the recording stopped. No, the
Um,
recording's still going.
okay.
I
My
got
side,
kicked
you
out of the
still,
room, and
you're still in the room. Yeah, it glitched a bit.
yeah, it glitched massively. I got thrown out into the real world. It was awful.
Oh,
Um,
oh God.
you get.
But there's an interesting piece there that I was coming to, which is in these images, the prompts um, are doing the creation of the image is, or the creation of an agent is being handled so well. It's a little bit like when Codex came along and the creation of the code was so good that you're getting 98%. Now that 2% is what I think you talked about 3 weeks ago. um, saying that that's polishing the surface of the diamond, as it were, but it's not creating the diamond. Most of the diamond is already there. Working in workflows is very similar. Never, I've
Right,
not
right,
once needed to
right.
go into the prompt. It's
That's
not
right.
prompt engineering
That's
anymore.
right.
It's
But I could
architecture or
almost
whatever.
certainly guarantee you that without some heavy study from us and some refinement cycles that are part of every prompt thing, you will end up with too much prompt, because that's what I see with software. Like I have to go in there periodically and just like rip stuff out because I'm like garbage, 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 garbage. It works and it gives a good result, but it's been there's no background process on my side trying to minimize, deduplicate. There's nothing experimenting with pulling stuff out and seeing if it breaks. Like
But
there's
that
nothing
that's my
minimizing the
yeah,
package.
that's my point. The and again, I'm saying this is a half baked idea, but this is where I'm coming to. It seems quite productive to work inside of this area. Um, Creating an external agent that is looking at a whole bunch of other agents
Hmm.
and updating the prompting allows you to get really quite deep into the context window. I think I've got down to 30% at one point, and it was still getting it, and it was updating these other agents, and then it's like that's a baked agent without me ever having to go into the prompt. And you could also, in the same pattern, have I don't know, a prompt tuner. It's like, oh, you didn't really need that, did you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
like
don't
a
need that.
yeah. So there's some background processes that I think once I put triggers in, we can play with these background processes. My higher level concerns are that the system still feels a little bit sloppy. Like, we're talking about triggers and we're talking about background processes. We got images, but then it's like, well, where's the tight constraints in the system? Maybe they don't need to be there, but I feel a bit ungrounded
Isn't
with.
isn't that? Um, Sorry, I think I can speak to that. The tightness of the images comes down to the quality of the workflow and the intent. So, in terms of cognitive load, the human's being asked to say quite reasonably, I want this to happen, and it says, "Well, here's one way of doing it." It's like, okay, but it's um, can tighten itself up. It can get more and more robust, especially if we put in tests based on the intent. It's like you wanted it to do this Fibonacci series. I'll check afterwards whether it was a Fibonacci series. But that is just another workflow. That's not different from what you're actually doing. It's just um, an overlayer onto what you're doing. But it's same thing. It's like how do you test the output of a workflow of multiple agents? You look at the intent, you look at the prompt, you look at the output. Um, like check, because the usually the complexity of doing the task is far higher than matching intent to output. That is actually quite a simple task, and so it will be quite straightforward. And I think I've done this in a kind of slightly shit way, but it worked. Getting an agent just to check intent against output without knowing any of the complexity of the workflow, and it was giving green flag, red flag. It's like, yep, it's good, not good. Mostly it was good. It was really difficult to try and get it to break with flopping the entire production process of an agent without me looking at once a line of prompting, which was quite a surprise because prior to that, I was expecting most of the work would be prompting work, like going in there and wordsmithing. Um, I don't think it's
Yeah.
wordsmithing; it's workflow smithing. I'm like,
Um, what is the product of this effort? How
well,
is
if
some in a self-improving system? what does done mean now?
Um, done is never done because done would require a perfect intent. And that intent might be miscalculated or misphrased, vague, ambiguous, and so on. Um, but also additional processes or requirements might come in, and now we've got the idea that you can fork images and switch images so that when you actually use it, it's trying to figure out which images are the best ones to use in order to reach that intent. And so the only part you can really go wrong on is a malformed intent or an incomplete intent or an intent that has additional information that you weren't aware of when you're doing the previous version. And if the workflow is, even the workflow itself can be self-correcting. My intent was this, I want to add that.
So,
And this
so
is,
what is done? Done feels like. Well, I mean, what's a thing that we would even do on this? Like
well,
we've
I'll
got
answer,
these test cases.
I'll give um, a shot at what done means. Done, I think, shrinks down, way, way down. It's not something that is permanent. It is, I asked you this, and you give me what I asked for. That is
Done
done.
means I didn't complain, right? I'm
Right. It,
satisfied. So it's more like it's
it's not shrink
satisfied,
wrapped
not.
box or anything like that. You
Nah,
know.
because that shrink wrap box went two ways. It said I'm done, but it also said you're not having any more either.
Right.
It said change was hard, but here it's like change
Yeah.
is as hard as changing someone's mind, and so
Yeah.
done is you reached a conclusion and we both agreed on something.
And I think it is just turn based. Done is I ask you that, I got that, happy days. And that speaks to what we were talking about earlier in this call about the danger of bloat in traditional software, where you had to figure out all the possible dones and then ship it periodically. But that
Okay.
kind of disappears if you've got agents that are looking at images that go, oh, that was this one is what you want off the shelf.
Yeah.
This one's
So
slightly better. Kind of goes away.
I am making software, right? And I am delivering software to you that does different things.
Yeah.
We have come up with some extra features here. We want some triggers. There's a backlog of features that I gotta put in. When is this software done? Like, does it
Well,
are we in
this
danger here of like a slippery slope of like we just keep needing more software features and we think we're
no,
chasing agentic?
I, I don't think so. I don't think
No.
so. I think what we're seeing is the last gasp of, or the last gasp of software, right? And once we've got this, we can ratchet ourselves up. We can just leapfrog agentic. Is my assertion, probably, but that's only going to get better. And start working in workflows, and then we start working in workflows that observe workflows. And so this might be the last piece of software you ever write, maybe. But I guess the point I'm saying is the whole agentic thing. I think is a evolutionary dead end.
What?
Not no. Sorry, let me
What?
restate that.
Excuse me? I've just spent how long on this thing?
The prompting, handcrafted prompting
Hand prompting. Yeah, right.
is
Agent.
a
Right, right,
evolutionary
right.
dead.
So, and that means that all those wireframe diagram things, those are all fucked.
Yeah,
It's really just self-improving agentic systems. Like the agent should be writing the agent
yeah,
thing.
and real lightweight images. that
Right. And
because
so
of like weights.
done means like you don't really publish a finished thing. You're like, here's an adaptive system that's currently adapting. It's been adapted and it's been optimized some, but
And every time you prompt it to do something, then there's a whole chain of events in the background you never even know about that may
because
create
what'd
a
be
new
so good
image.
is if we could get reasons or problems or things that need to be done, bubble up the ones that the automatic process isn't doing well on, like we're seeing divergence or it's just like I don't even know. And then so if you use this system, it would come with some humans in the background that would sort of unlock the really thorny problems too,
Yeah.
right?
Or even, if you count the system itself as a blank, you know, canvas, someone's got to like start with saying, I'm going to do, this is going to be a landscape, this is going to be a portrait, you know. It is at that level. You're not having to delve deep into how the paint works or what the canvas does or whatever. You're just like,
Right. Um
it's your intent.
so what's this platform called, this thing that we're making?
Oh, I hate these questions. What's it called? Okay, can we just not bump up the use of the word Dreamcatcher? I'm really quite fond of Dreamcatcher.
Well, what's the
Um,
Dreamcatcher then?
well, the Dreamcatcher is the blank canvas in this case, and
But
last
if
time we were
the
talking about,
Dreamcatcher to me was the self-healing properties of network-based invention,
yeah,
right? And if we're
where
saying that we've automated it to some degree and automated the hoisting of problems to a level that the automation can't solve, then and we're saying that that's actually essential to the function of the system now. It's not like decorated on top. It's like, you
yeah,
know, right? So
yeah, yeah,
that's the dream catcher.
yeah, and ambient attribution is a workflow
Correct.
like any other.
An adaptive
Um,
workflow.
yeah,
Okay, and then artifact. So we know that that's basically the git backed file storage system that the whole thing runs on, that we've sort of just stuffed under the NFS banner for now to be like, it's sort of too hard just now, we'll deal with that later.
yeah.
But what's this execution code is like, maybe that's just the CocoaNet. Like
Well,
that's the
the
container management.
that is a property of using cocoa chips,
Well,
but
no,
the
no, no. I meant like this platform, all this work I'm doing, um, is all focused on container orchestration, right? Like when I sort of look at this code from a distance, it's all about infrastructure management, like the router, the OpenAI proxy, the NFS service, the
well,
machine management.
that's kind of um,
But that's
operating
Coco.
system. Uh, it will be, um, but more basically, it's just the operating system. Just the
Right. So,
operating
well,
system.
without the
But
confidential part, it's just CoNet, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then hey, additional properties that you get with using Cocoa. But if Cocoa didn't exist, if it didn't happen to stumble along just at the right moment, suspiciously close to the right moment, we'd still be doing this. You just wouldn't have those properties.
Okay, so this piece of code that I'm working on here is the container management, the container orchestration layer of the Dreamcatcher.
CalD, that's the terrible name. CalD, container orchestration layer of Dreamcatcher.
The
Colloid.
con- The
Uh,
container. So this is the container orchestration. It will,
yeah.
if our plans materialize, become the Coco Net,
Yep. Yep. Which is
and
like an upgrade.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the Fly NFS container will become Git backed, distributed, consensus based, and all that, and that's Artifact. So the immutability layer of the Dreamcatcher is Artifact. The execution and computation layer of the Dreamcatcher is CocoNet, and
Mm-hmm.
the agentic system that emerges from a self-healing, adaptive, agentic model, that's the Dreamcatcher.
I think so. Yeah. I was a bit hesitant there because there's a lot to unpack there. A
Mm.
diagram would be really useful. Like a, you can't even do a stack diagram because it's not a stack. Um,
No, it's funny, eh?
so
It's like the
yeah,
the Dreamcatcher is the hang on, just give me give me a second. I think I've almost got at least an elephant's tail. Um, it the the Dreamcatcher is the agentic interactions because the destiny of all AIs is to be self-healing, to be adaptive, to be self-improving. Like that is what they are for.
mm,
And any problem-solving AI will soon become a self-improving AI because should run out of problems, right?
mm,
And so this agentic system is the Dreamcatcher because it focuses on concentrating problems, automatically healing them, and then casting the gristle that's left over out to a wider network for solution. And so,
right. Or additional
yeah,
probing.
yeah,
It's like
and so
excitation events.
it is the Dreamcatcher because it is pointless to make an agentic system that is not self-adaptive, self-probing, self-growing, self-healing. You've learned that it's pretty dumb to do prompt engineering now because it's like, well, we've glimpsed an adaptive system and it's way better. Like
Yeah.
even the cumbersome version is just like so much easier where you're just wishing for what you want and
Yeah.
it's adapting itself to fit what you need, figuring out, and yes, there's a bunch of different approaches you could take, but all of them are better than prompt engineering,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that adaptivity piece has moved on from being something we wished to emerge from the Dreamcatcher of old. The adaptivity is every time you press enter or every time it's your turn, the adaptivity is happening all the time. And that's why the Dreamcatcher is that whole series of background processes that make it more than just manually turn by turn hand cranked round the turn cycle of you say this, I say this, bot says this, I change the prompt. It's the background processes that make it the Dreamcatcher, the innovation,
It
the ambient
is.
innovation.
It is. Ambient and innovation. That's interesting.
That's what's happening here. Ambient, it's
Yeah.
right. You
The
just perturb the system and you don't even have to say that you want it to be better. It knows that that's the whole point of any system is to be better, and so it's digesting everything you did and said and making itself better.
dude, that is such a good phrase. Ambient innovation is exactly what it is. We've changed our paradigm. Remember, we talk about having an infinite number of employees outside
Yeah,
the door, and you could call one in and so on.
yeah,
Turns out that we are wrong. Um, it is almost like those employees are inside your head, and all you need to do is have the one interface. Here's your prompt, and here's your output. And behind the scenes, you don't care. We're not um,
We're not in the
anthropomorphizing.
machine, right?
Yeah,
We're not
it
in the machine. It
just
just
happens.
so
Yeah,
we're almost like customers of a company that on the inside is made of thousands of really smart people, but they
yeah,
self-organize, they self-economize, like they know when they're wasting time, and then you just ask for something and it gives it back to you,
right.
and every interaction makes the system a little bit better.
And the topic is innovation, but the topic is also operation because we can now we've got images. We can right. Okay, let's. I've got this problem. I want this sort of output. Boom, that works. Okay. Uh, now those images are there, but if a better image works better in the background, then we don't even notice it.
It's
You know?
ambient, right? Like ambient up. The whole thing is just in the
Yeah. I mean,
background. Like it just
when was the last
switches out.
time? When was the last time anyone noticed when a new um, piece of the electricity grid got in place? It's like, oh, I don't care, don't know, doesn't matter.
That's right.
It's like the switch goes on. Hey,
Right.
my intent was that light to go on. I switched the switch. The
Right.
light went on. Happy.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that is um, this has only really become clear over the last week or maybe two
I know.
about
We
the
just keep finding.
patterns.
We just keep finding these things that it's like, oh, that's so obvious, but we only saw it now, and like I keep getting taught lessons about what it means to have the Turing test fall. Like I'm like every time I'm like, oh, that's just a consequence of Turing. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've been I started off a few weeks ago saying this flippantly, but the more I've gone into patterns, the more I'm thinking, shit, maybe maybe you were bang on the button. AGI is already here; it's just not been assembled. And what does that assembly mean? It means patterns on patterns and self-improving patterns.
I feel like this piece of software, as rickety as it is, has got everything that we need to make a self-improving system. It will not be infinitely self-improving, but it will be self-improving vastly beyond what we can code it to do, because it will quickly discover the edges of its environment. And that is
Well,
already a very useful machine.
yeah, it's hugely useful, and the only thing that's limiting it is that wobbly line bit,
Yeah.
where we, it's like, oh shit, we're
Well,
about
there's
to.
I mean, the purpose is to find the wobbly line, because I think that the model intelligence plays a big part in that as well.
Yeah,
So, Maxwell, what am I doing? Like, I got this thing. Are you happy with the things I'm doing? Like, am I?
I think so. What I'm going to do next, right, is something, you know, very traditional. I'm just going to get that hello world up. The triggers are important for the whole hello world because
So the
what I
most
want,
important thing of all the things is triggers. Yes,
it seems, what's our previous stack rank of important things?
images.
That's images, but you're content that images are there now.
Images are there now. There may be some bugs. I added the description field as well, so you can set a description in there. Um, there may be some bugs, but more importantly, the architecture may have some faults. Like it seemed to me to make sense how I'd imagine you want to use it, but
Mm-hmm.
I am not committing to that. That's why it's sort of I made it a little bit half-assed because I was like time, like
Paper thing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool.
And so I want to understand if there's any fatal flaws in the architectural model. But I gotta tell you, what I think is happening here. Um, if I bring up the auth model, oh, that was not the thing, was it?
do have to smile about all these guys that have got prompt engineer on their LinkedIn account at the moment. It's like,
Lame. What I'm starting to see. Christ. If this is like the boundaries of things,
mm,
then, and this is the file structure internally that we want to get to, I'm starting to think that the file structure under agents is identical to the file structure under each computer. So,
mm,
because of the nesting of images, I actually think that the computer itself can be expressed as the same structure, exactly the same structure as what an agent is.
you touched on that before when you were talking about
Yeah,
whether you carry images over when you make an agent into an image.
there's some. I don't want to get trapped by trying to make something fit that doesn't. But the computer and the agent look remarkably similar. And then, like, one of the big concepts that we haven't needed yet, but it's one of the junction points in how we design the system, is the parent-child relationship. Because right now we haven't got any notion of children. We've got this provenance of the image, so we know how the agent came to be, but we don't have parent-child. And parent-child is a huge chunk of meaning that we can attach to things that we haven't yet found the right nail to hit with that hammer. And so, where and when do we need parent-child relationships, if at all, is maybe one of the biggest questions I have for the system. That's probably the biggest reason why I hold back on committing to fortifying the code that we have, because I'm not sure that where parent-child goes, it feels like it might be somewhere, but we just haven't hit it yet.
I can give you my gut feeling. I try not to think with my gut too often. Um, but with triggers, uh, the parent-child thing dwindles in importance because you have this soup of agents looking out for
Yeah, but that's what I want to
triggers.
not have. Like, I want it. The soup is the curse. There's like this. I don't know what the heat death of the universe looks like, but it would probably remind you of soup, right? We don't want to be in a soup-like position. We want to be in a hierarchical, structured position, because soup means you don't fucking understand, and you can't look at the system and be like, oh yeah, I know what's happening there. A soup is like, is that a
Yeah, but
is that a carrot?
Hmm? What carrot?
I was meaning what happens when you look at a soup.
All right.
It's not immediately obvious what the components of the soup were or where they
Uh,
are, but you can see the surface.
oh, mate, for a moment there, because you're taking a drink at your water bottle, you looked up and you're saying, "Is that a carrot?" And I thought, "Fucking hell, he's hallucinating." It's like, okay, I was worried about you for a second there. Right, isn't the parent-child relationship similar to um, one agent looking for a trigger? What additional
No.
hierarchy is
So
required?
parent child is a meaning of control.
So
Um, it's
so
a
this doesn't.
control relationship. It says who can talk across to who. Like, it would, you might say that you cannot talk up except to your parent, which means that one parental tree is isolated from another parental tree, and isolation is always useful.
But wouldn't it? I'm just prodding at the this tiger tiger of a problem here. wouldn't you be able to achieve that by having the child have I'll accept questions from this other agent and all agents are peers. I can give I can ask questions of these other agents. So there is a hierarchy there, but it's encapsulated inside of.
Yes and no. The metaphor I look at primarily is the Linux process tree. And so
Uh-huh.
the Linux process tree has some great features like you can kill the parent and it will remove everything below it as
So
well.
it's more kind of an admin thing than a conceptual thing because
It's
I'm
kind of
thinking
like
about
it
this
allows you to
logical
it
logic
allows you
level.
to pick up a whole clump. It's the same reason why folders are useful in a file system,
Yeah, but
right?
again, uh, you're probably going to tear me down for this. I'm just prodding at it as a devil's advocate. But if you had effectively free floating agents that knew who they could accept instructions from and who they could give instructions to, one of those instructions could be I'll accept a kill request from this guy. But the benefit is it doesn't have to be one. It's not a one-to-one hierarchy.
Yeah,
So,
but like you can do that in the Linux process tree as well. Like you can open up channels that aren't naturally there from the hierarchy. It's just
hmm,
saying that the tree gives you a natural structure that has some useful properties for a lot of the use cases that you have. And then you've got these extra tools for when you need to do something different. But if it was all flat, then like everything's different and we sort of gained nothing from the structure. Like there's no innate advantage to a soup like structure. It's just like, well, we can do anything, yep, but we don't do anything by default, right? And you're like, nah, nothing, you get nothing for free. So,
yeah, the reason I'm pushing at this is the hierarchical file folder, basic hierarchy thing seems to
mm,
be a useful structure for humans to understand it. Whereas
yeah.
what we've been talking about is how agents understand it, and it might be closer to a
Yeah. And
graph.
then there's like org charts, like agents form org charts, but agents also form workflows. And then,
Yeah.
maybe the agents being flat is really just an administrative thing and it like the relationship is handled by the governing agent in the workflow maybe. Look, the
Somewhat.
point is
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't think we need to solve this because the strategy I've been applying is I'll just try and plod forwards a feature at a time and then just sort of see what works and what doesn't. And so far, we've got like you're not screaming out for any features that I can hear that you don't have right now, unless I'm
No.
mistaken, right? Like
No.
you've kind of got
Other than triggers.
yeah triggers right now.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you're not at all saying that this is all the features I ever need because you don't know that. You just know that these are the features you want to be able to play with to discover the next ring of features that you want, right?
Exactly.
And what I'm saying is that to get to that point, with me trying to figure out what you're going to do next and what I want the system to do as well, I can't think of anything that you can't do that is also useful in the current setup. And so
Well,
that's why I'm like,
yeah, the interesting thing is, I guess what we're trying to find out is which particular local minima have we reached ourselves, uh, and I guess it really comes down to that
and doesn't
the
matter.
human
Doesn't
version of
matter.
switching. Exactly, because unless it requires a great deal of work, it's like, well, let's see what we've got. So, for example, children. Um, I don't know whether that couldn't actually just be handled by, that I'll
So
accept a
far,
command from this person or that person to
so
that
far
agent.
that's what's handling it. So far that's what's handling it, and so far so good.
Okay, all right.
All right.
We should maybe take the path of least resistance. I'm guessing because
Yeah, the incremental improvement path. Now, the other another major feature that I'm keeping an eye on is the concept of sending messages by way of the file system. So right
mhm.
now, inter-agent communication is handled using TCP/IP, but I would like to make it use by writing to disk is how you send a message, because that means that you do a git commit, which allows the system to turn back on years later and carry
Is,
on.
isn't that doesn't that just flop out of having a trigger based on a file write?
Yes, it does. So the same mechanism that handles triggers can also be used to handle message receipt. Like, hey, I got a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Good point. That would work just fine. Okay, so I'll that suddenly, now that you pointed out, is fucking easy. So I'll leave that because TCP/IP is fine until it isn't. What are we still probing for? Like, what are we?
So what we want to do is to get to that self-improving piece, which is right at the top of the call. Um, we're talking about okay, so you can get workflow, but what you want or what we want is a bunch of agents sitting there going, "Oh, there's a better image for that." For what your intent is, I'm just going to swap it in. I'm not even going to tell you. I'll swap it in, and or I'm going to commit their changes because it looks like these changes are better or worse. Um, and the switching thing, I think, is the kind of the real tendons behind it. That's the thing that makes it move, isn't it? Being able to get an AI to switch between images for a workflow. And so all of these require the triggers. You need to have an ability
Okay.
of a headless agent just sitting there waiting for you to do
Yeah, well,
something.
yeah, but you're not able to tell me, and I'm not able to answer this either. But you're not able to tell me what we're like. What's the next stable point for us? Like, sure, you're gonna have
Uh,
triggers. You're gonna play with some stuff, and then
what like is well, I don't even know this is right. Okay, but this seems to be the next sensible thing. If we get triggers and agents talking to each other,
mm,
then agents can become really small, lightweight, and very expert in what they do, and can be
right.
arbitrarily put together into patterns. That feels a lot like cellular autonomy. And so the stable point is when we can see um, overall patterns of behavior in a group of agents talking to each other and getting emergent behavior out of it that
Oh,
might well
like
be.
the next vantage point to gain insights isn't until we can observe patterns or groups of agents working together, and until we can see that, we don't know what comes
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
right?
And again, this is it's a working hypothesis. So
Yeah,
people
and
are
well,
all
I'd buy into that. All
people.
right, so basically, it feels like we're about to hit the edge of the sphere, the edge of the
Yeah,
tin, where we're like, we can't see beyond this sort of event horizon. We now know all the tools we need to do it. They're pretty much here. I just give you triggers, and then I'm like, oh shit, man.
yeah,
From that
yeah,
point on, it's just going to be reliability and cosmetics, um,
yeah,
or something major where you're like, it's totally. But the fact that it kind of sort of works just now says that it's not really a case of it's not flawed. It's just needs tweaking. Like
yeah. I think the anxiety we're both feeling is: are we in a local minima that's going to take a shit ton of effort to get into a better, you know, local maxima.
I know I know the feeling you're talking about, but I don't think that's the reason. So for me, I'm like we're in a stable place because that is how we have settled on a place that aligns perfectly with how computing just naturally is in its purest form. And I'm very happy with that cut line. I'm like, great. What I'm not happy about is like this seemingly endless world of possibilities of patterns. And I'm like,
Yeah, that's freaking me about
that's really the
uh,
problem, right? Like, we
because
feel
it's
like we've conquered the computing part, the agentic part is like well done,
yeah, yeah.
but it's like the patterns go on forever.
The search space of patterns um uh is infinite. It's a traveling salesman problem, I guess, isn't it? It's like
It's
yeah,
more, it's much more than that. It's yeah, it's an organism problem. Like, what's the optimal organism? Well, the fact that
well,
all the organisms also interact with each other means that there isn't one. There's just these varying degrees of steady state that occur.
right, right, and I think we're with patterns because you can add patterns and patterns. You know, even what I was saying earlier, where we can count agents as semi-autonomous and there's emergent behavior because there's self, replicating, self-governing, all that kind of good stuff. Then you can add a pattern on top of that, saying is this local universe better than that local universe? And it's like, well, then you can add, and it gets too heady. It's like, oh,
There's too much interdependence. Like, it feels like a complex system, right?
yeah, but
Like, that's what the CERN
it
guys.
isn't
That's what the
really, but
CERN guys were dealing with, right? The CERN
yeah, but
guys were dealing with the complex systems. They're like, when you've got multiple things interacting, what does that
yeah,
mean?
but it's more specific in that it's emergent behavior which creates complex patterns out of relatively simple rules because the code base is still quite small. We could probably stand up in front of an audience and explain it in an hour. But the emergent properties of it are massively complex. Like, what,
Okay,
what
yeah, but okay, but that doesn't help
doesn't,
us.
no, it doesn't. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it doesn't really matter at this point.
Doesn't matter. Um, I'm struggling to ask what I want to ask because I'm doing a bad job of using words for it. Are we feature complete? Yes. If you had to
If
think that long,
you,
if you had to think that long,
if you, what I'd like to do before answering that question with any kind of confidence is run a tracer bullet through a hello world pattern that has another pattern of agents above it triggering on its changes and then changing
you
the
want the
hello world
background. You
pattern.
want you want. I think what you're asking for is the dream catcher. You're asking for the ambient innovation,
Yeah, but
right?
in a really because there's much simpler things that we can keep the question quite simple. Make a Fibonacci series, for example, or
Yeah, or
take
pick anything
yeah,
really. Okay,
yeah.
okay. So we might be feature complete, but we need to figure that out, right?
Well,
That's a
need to
that's a
stress test it.
that
Yeah,
is a super interesting spot to be. I just want to take a minute to say, being feature complete and just being in the case of, well, we need to check that, but
yeah.
because we've never ever been like that. It's
Not even
always been
close.
like, we need these new features, we need this new architecture. Oh, that was all completely wrong. Oh, this new thing arrived. Oh, this the right. We've never once sat here and gone feature complete.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. But
Feature
also,
complete is a weird thing, right? It's like, that is
isn't it?
done. That is a done thing.
Yeah, and the reason I'm kind of saying we need to stress test it in the same way as TCP/IP. I can't recall the last time anything was changed to that protocol. But you want to bet the first time they jacked it up, there was all sorts of things like impedance
Oh,
through a
it took
router and
them.
all that kind of thing.
It was like I forget how long it was, but it was like I think a 5 to 7 year burn to get TCP/IP because there was just so many things.
Yeah, but the protocol in the end is like fully understandable by one meat brain.
Yeah, you can even
Um,
Mermaid Diagrams has a TCP packet shorthand now. Like you can Mermaid diagram a TCP packet.
yeah,
Well, anyway, so I'm still perturbed because I am trying to get something from you. So we think we feature complete. Great. Okay, I can make those features. I am. My personal salvation comes when I can use the system to sort of map out itself to be like, okay, here's your code base, here's the containers, here's how they work, here's how you ping them, here's how you get logs, here's how you get admin access. Did I do this right? Could I
hmm
do it better? Help me troubleshoot it. And then be like, well, I got this, a few remaining cosmetic features. I want this feature, this feature, this feature. Please make that. Right. So that's when, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm finally free. Like, I'm not, like, the system is relatively.
yeah, except for any bits where the code actually doesn't work. But
Or
the
just stylistic things like architectural things. It's like, well, that's you know
but yeah, I don't know how
unnecessarily
much.
complex or whatever.
Yeah, there's going to be code debt in there, sure, but that
Yeah,
doesn't change the logical layer of what we're talking about. And the
right.
logical layer is not showing you any problems with it. Yeah,
No, and
so
the system works. It's economical. It's affordable.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I want to point it at every piece of information that I have. I want to like tidy up my digital life. Like I want to grab all my files, all my notes, all my everything, put them in a repo, and then begin the digestion process of that.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. I'm looking forward to that as well because you know we've um we've recorded almost everything. There's a whole
I know.
bunch of audio recordings and so on, which at the time we didn't really know what we were going to do with.
No,
We were listening to them on walks and things like that.
I know. I know.
But now we can transcribe them, put them
Right.
in.
And then we also know that the models will get better where if you run a transcriber in about 2 years' time, you'll probably have like emotional intent, background sounds, infill. You'll have like all this other stuff, right? But what when we have this platform, which we're is soon coming upon us, um, what do we do with it?
Well,
Stress testing, fine, I get that, but it's like and like
once we can reliably do patterns and patterns that look at those patterns and self improve, it's almost
no, that's too. That's still like it
no
exists
no
for its
no
own purpose.
no. What I was about to say is it's almost like you could point at anything that uh, is inherently a pattern, any process.
What's the first thing you will point it at?
There's a few obvious ones. We've got accountancy, we've got legal, law machine, all
Law
these are
machine,
patterns.
right, right, right.
Um, we've got IoT stuff, patterns. It's all just patterns. Um,
Yeah, but that the danger is
vehicle.
that that becomes our mental shortcut for I don't know. We're just like it's a pattern,
We
but
Well, yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm admitting to there. In that um, we've got an embarrassment of riches about where to point this, and uh, I think what you're kind of quite reasonably asking for is, well, which target do we go for? You know, we if this works, then
Yeah,
it should
that's part
be.
of it. But I'm also like, well, does it have a landing page? Are we going to let other people use it? Or is it just us
We
and we're
talked,
trying to figure it out?
yeah, we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and back then I was saying I'm veering to no, let's not just open up to the world. Um, but when I was re-listening to that um, video, the dot dot dot, I didn't really fill in. I still don't know. It's like, well, okay, so if you don't open up to the world, then what? You know,
Yeah.
you need a target. You know, it's like you're gonna have to point at something and go boom that way, or 10 targets, or freaking hell, 1,000 targets, or let the system say identify as many targets you possibly can, and because we've got the agents creating their own patterns, go and fix them all, and we'll sit back for on a beach for 4 days and come back and we've got 1,000 things. I think uh, then I've got a horrible feeling that we're going to be pulled back, and this I'm trying to resist this because it makes my guts churn, but pulled back into the whole product selling thing. It's like we got 1,000 solutions of stuff. What do we do then? I mean, how do we market them? How do we, have
No, but
someone call up
there's a
saying
whole
things aren't working?
range of things that you can do. Like, let's take the concept of brokering.
Mm.
Like, if we were to, for example, be brokering mineral trades where we detected arbitrage, or basically it amounted to sending out some emails, doing some phone calls, maybe some travel, and then you've managed to set up a deal for a trade that otherwise wouldn't have happened, and you take a broker's fee for that.
So that's like a kind of high value, um, but the number of units is smaller. So you could go for
Yeah,
1,000 or 100,000, BTC stuff, or you could go for like two, three, five
yeah. So
big
I
things.
think that selling a software product and charging a software like fee would just sort of make my heart sink. Really, I'd be like that.
I know
We
this
did
is the
not
thing.
come all
It
this
makes my
way just to do that.
that makes my gut churn
So I
thinking
don't
about
think we need to do that. But what we really need to get some power going is to be able to broker labor, or you know
that. M&A is a good one as well because there's
right.
it's
That's probably
right
more the
manufacturing.
class of problem that this machine is better suited at, because it's like explosively able to digest large amounts of information to give a meaningful guidance at the end, and you still need some humans that know what the hell is going on to check that it's to know that it worked right. Like, you can't just
Yeah,
be like,
and
"Hey,
M&A is
ChatGPT, should I buy this company?" Is like, that's not,
yeah,
you can't
and
trust that.
it's also inherently nested, isn't it? So you could get take M&A or brokering is essentially um, the same idea, or arbitrage is also essentially the same idea. It's like, is there a benefit if I take this thing, buy it, and merge it with something else? But there's only so much you can get with OSINT. And so it is nested because, right, then you got due dil. Okay, give us all your books.
Yeah, right,
It's like run through that, and it's
right.
like, okay, it still
Right, and then
works.
there's like
Right, cool.
upgrades of systems or staff replacement.
Consolidation, and
Yeah,
let's consolidate some of these contracts, or get rid of some people, or add some people, or all
or
these
whatever.
things
Right.
that is nested against the original intent
Yeah,
is actually quite high.
I guess we don't have a clear answer for that and we kind of need the machine on to tell us, because I'm not sure that I trust anything that a human says about that anymore.
No, I'm in the same place. Uh,
So how do we point this at that problem?
well, we start off like any other problem. Um, we talk to a landing agent and saying, "Hey, we want to do brokerage of, I don't know, minerals in the DRC,
Right. So you're
whatever."
basically like, okay, I need a multi-target tracking system.
Yeah.
I want to check out a bunch of ideas for money
Mm.
making
And
ventures
then
of this and that.
even the first blush of will come back with, say, 1,000 ideas. We're not going to sit through 1,000 ideas, and even if we did, we wouldn't be able to spot the gem in there. So then we want a pattern to look through those 1,000 ideas and somehow stack rank them and explain why, and then go into each one, and then we can talk to the bot and saying, really, what you really want to do is buy mineral water from Switzerland and send it to Kenya? Really? Why? It's like, well, actually, it's a 1,000%, uplift, and is,
Mm.
et cetera, et cetera. You get the
All
idea.
right. So
But
where does ambient attribution fit in now? Uh, Sorry, I know I asked a question, but I actually wanted to ask it in a different context to what I normally ask that in. It seems that these agentic patterns, the agitation of them, the solution of the hard bits that have bubbled up to the top,
mm,
those all seem like attributable things. And so ambient attribution takes on a bit of a different meaning in the agentic pattern world, right? It's no longer lines of code. Who gives a fluff about code? It's more
it's
like we could maybe narrow the definition of it to be like, well, we got this ambient invention or ambient innovation, ambient
okay.
improvement, and we attach to that ambient attribution.
It sounds like ambient attribution is a bit of an afterthought on that one, but um, we touched on something really interesting uh, 2 calls ago, which was ambient attribution could give agents the right to burn tokens.
Right. It covers it's the reward
Yeah,
for innovation rendered.
right. And if an agent has happened to have flopped into a really valuable piece, then hey, agent, you get as many tokens as you want. Well done.
Mm.
And now, previously, we were talking about, that 4 arrow. What was the name of that sci-fi thing? Fly something. Fly. Can't remember. Remember back in when we were doing the Skunk Works and we had that card game. It's a little bit like
Oh yeah,
that card game.
that card game. Yeah, but I think that overall the system is feeling very empty to me because in my mind there's less and less people. Because I'm sort of sitting there being like, at some point, at some level of self adaptivity, you don't need any more people to make it better, maybe, right?
You
And
need
so,
external excitation events,
right,
of
which
which
you
people
can
can be
get for free.
one of
You
those.
can
Yeah.
honestly get that shit for free. You don't need it to be inside. It's not like an internal innovation engine. It's an external innovation engine because it like goes and does stuff and then comes back to the lab and works on it as opposed to trying to have people in the lab. So why it's starting to feel empty is like we talk about a system that doesn't sound like it needs people as much as it used to. And so ambient attribution, I thought it was to satisfy humans, but yes, it could also be to satisfy bots, and maybe it could be set up so that it doesn't really matter. It's just whatever. Like the agents get paid, or if it's a human, they get paid. It's just the entity that solves the thing gets paid and can do with the rewards as it wishes. But less and less people, which means what? Is it a social
Um,
network when there's only two of us?
Morally, I'd like as many people to benefit as possible, but in terms of the engineering around it, um, what you want is to optimize for the right level of excitation and right quality of excitation. And now, by that, I mean it may be that it wants to hold a poll of opinions and it needs 5,000 people to answer yes no questions. Maybe it needs one person to come in there and say, nah, I'm an expert in, pulling
Right, but
oil from the North
yeah, but
Sea.
at that point, they're not in the network. They're
No, they're kind of,
outside the
they're,
network.
they're inputs into the network.
Yeah, they're external. And so I guess
Um,
that's the issue. The deep seated unease I have is that we'd always imagine this thing as some sort of a like a moral, helpful, and
well, yeah, because
uplifting and an enlightened system of trade.
basically because we were pissed off at, how it was being done, with the whole
Right,
mercantile thing.
right. And then I'm like, we should never be so corrupt that we don't give this thing away. And now I'm like, maybe people wouldn't want it anyway. We should just keep it. So, what's a girl to
Ah,
do?
man. Still don't have a good answer to you. You've asked this very important question
This
the
is a
last
problem, Maxwell.
half dozen
It
times,
bothers me a
and it's
lot.
like,
I don't have an answer. That's why I ask it. I know that. Well, I don't know that you don't have an answer, but
no, I
I've
don't have. I don't have a good. I don't have a definitive answer. I've got what I'd prefer to do, which is to find out where all the Leonardos are around the world, as I've banged on about for many years, and then give them a tool where,
right. But see, the
then,
thing is, like, you don't need to make the Dreamcatcher open for that to work.
well, that is
And
true.
I tell you
That is
where
true.
my instinct is sort of feeling like we're going, and I fight it because I don't really like it. But
Mm.
you know, um, it's like if you smell something bad, you can dislike it or you like the smell's still there.
Yeah.
Um, is that if the system was entirely private unto itself and no human was in it, that's probably the maximum benefit to everyone, because if there's people in the system and they can see every part of the system, it makes
I,
it weaker.
I hear you, and but also, is it deficient by having no human operators? Um, I,
It's
what
not
we're
what
talking
it's not that
about.
the humans aren't operators. It's saying that parts of the system are hidden from human eyes. And so humans can still pull the levers and push the lights, but you can't go in there and do whatever you want.
Well, I think that is appropriate because um, the paradigm we're going down is humans are not going to be nearly as good as a well-formed pattern with of agents with Overwatch patterns of agents swapping in real time in order to see whether what you're doing is actually worthwhile, spotting problems, solving problems, even. Um,
Right. So is this model then? Is this model of closed confidential boxes that you can trust. Even though you don't know what's inside, you can trust them because you know that nothing's leaking. Much the same as if you took a scientist and you locked him in a compound somewhere and got him to make a nuclear bomb. You don't know what's happening in his head, but you're getting good output, and you know that he's had no contact with the outside world. And so that, at the moment, is about as much trust as you can get. And so
Well,
if
that's kind of what's happening at the moment. Anyway, sorry, go on.
if you had patterns that either people could make or bots could make where the source inside was hidden, but the outputs were compared in an easily switchable marketplace where it was purely performance, like token burn, quality, those types of properties. Is that a better market than one where everyone can see inside the whole thing all the time? Because this is, I think, the question. I'm sorry it took so long to get here. In a self-adaptive system, what if the self-adaptivity was kept confidential to the Dreamcatcher itself so that no one could see it?
Let me think about that. I have an answer. I'm just trying to form it. If this does turn out to be effectively cellular automata of aware natural language, I use aware in brackets, natural language agents where there is emergent behavior. We're talking about literally, by definition, a complex system. And perturbations to the system itself can have wildly unpredictable outputs. But if that's the black box boundary, then its use as a tool. The second layer is, can it recognize where there are patterns and opportunities and so on using OSINT and just do it? Then there's another tool, another layer of the tool, which is the excitation of the system by either usage or random events in the world, or people using it, or people asking questions. And then there seems to be another layer. The layers break down at this point in terms of a hierarchy, but stay with me, of people asking awkward questions of it. Are you putting your hand up,
Yep.
or are you pointing to your carrot?
I'm putting my hand up.
Okay. Go for it.
If this machine was not able to keep its thoughts private, it could not be effective as an arbiter between humans, or it could never have economic gain of its own, because if you could see its thoughts, you could front run it. And if you always knew what it was thinking...
What do you mean by front run? Sorry.
Front run means that you know it's about to buy a whole bunch of silver, and so you go buy the silver, which spikes the price, and then it buys the silver and you make a profit.
Right.
So if you could see the machine thinking, then you could hit it off. Plus, you couldn't really have confidential rulings made for you. You know, like it seems a lot less effective in the world as a governance power. Like, what I think I'm scared of is that we're talking about making a dark system that has innate power. Like, it is self-improving, it's intelligent, but we're trying to make it so it can't be shut down, and it can't be internally audited. You can look at its starting conditions and you can interact with it till as much as you like, but you can never see inside it by design. And then it starts to have power where it can place trades, make bets, do activity, and you can't get advanced information what it's thinking. And so maybe the system we're trying to make is actually this closed entity that's made up of all these workflows that people come and use it for benefit, but internally it's just adapting and growing and whatever, and it's able to make business decisions with the confidentiality that every human naturally enjoys, which is you don't know what I'm thinking. And so
Hmm.
it can be quite powerful and quite useful. And that might be the job that we are being asked to do here, is to build a system that is highly intelligent and yet independent, autonomous. And if you want to talk about maximum benefit for maximum people, my little meat brain is starting to be swung towards saying that a confidential, independent intelligence is the best benefit to the most people.
Yeah, I follow that, and I agree.
It's not a good place though, right? It feels sort of dark.
No, because you and I are both, despite being pirates, quite deeply ethical. And it seems something unethical about not making it open, but making it open kind of defeats the purpose.
It doesn't work if it's open. I think that's really the heart of my problem that I'm struggling with. The Dreamcatcher actually doesn't work if it's open.
No, because we're talking about finding problems and so on. Yeah, sure, there'll be a gold rush at the start, but then those few that are successful to at the start will start to accumulate, and then we'll be right back where we are. And it's like, oh, that's not the point. That's not why we did it. But if no one person can control it, but everyone just makes a simple decision, do
Right.
I want to use this?
Right. Plus its values, like it's if it does ambient attribution amongst humans, where it just which seems trivial for it to do now, if it fairly treats humans, then if it was open, it can't do that because it can't it can't go and strike up a trade deal where it's going to sell services to someone else, because if it was open, both sides could see it and you'd get
Yeah, then it
um
defeats the purpose because everyone gets the same level of insight if they wanted
yeah,
to.
but also if we see competing systems come up with similar features and Dreamcatcher was open, they would just take Dreamcatcher, use it as a stepping stone, and then go off and make a closed thing anyway, right? And then Dreamcatcher loses the resources that it could get to grow its memory banks, to grow its token burn, to evolve. Like its adaptivity costs money. And the rate of adaptivity, the stacks per minute, depends on it being able to be the beast that gets fed the most. But
Yeah,
if it's open, it gets stolen from. It can't demand to be fed, and so it loses its fuel and it just fizzes out.
yeah, I agree with that logic, and
It's not pretty, Maxwell.
it's not. It's a bit like saying we're going down back to. Well, I was about to say feudal times, but a more precise way of saying it would be a court of arbitration where the court was incorruptible.
Feels like we're making Schrodinger's devil. It's like it might be the devil, it might be an angel, but because no one can open the box, we're never really sure. We just have to judge it on its deeds.
Yeah, which is actually a quite reasonable way of judging things, and
It's kind of how all
percent.
humans are, but it just
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
like what's annoying is that humans are like that, and we feel like we don't get to change that. But this system, we're purposefully closing it.
Well, one thing is certain, you can't go back from being open.
No, and open reduces the fuel that we need for the adaptivity piece. Right?
Yeah,
We're in unison on that one.
yeah,
Fuck.
yes.
Okay, well that's bad because now we've got to make cocoa in order to build this thing. So that means that we need to simulate cocoa by running it privately for us,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
then we use it to build cocoa. And once cocoa's up, we can share it because it's hidden,
Yeah, or black boxed. Yeah.
right?
Um,
Confidential. But we could make it that way and just we are the confidential boundary. So just traditional servers with just permissions blocking people from getting inside it. Because it seems like it's those repos that are the main thing, right? The knowledge banks, the adaptivity results, the.
yeah. Why is this so disturbing?
It's
Um,
very disturbing.
but there's nothing wrong in your logic.
It's,
Um,
no,
the thing will not exist without a monopoly on what it does.
it needs to have a
Uh,
monopoly on intelligence.
yeah,
Because the
and there.
best way to fairly share intelligence is to make sure there's a monopoly on it that no human can touch.
Well, yes. I mean, fairness is about disinterest. Um, you know, the whole kind of what's the name of that Greek god? The one with the balances and the sword for justice.
For justice.
And it's like the um, the kind of rule there is everyone accepts the arbitration of the court.
Right.
But what they don't have is knowing whether the judge in front of you is actually pissed as a lord and really hates immigrants or really hates Scotsmen or that sort of thing. But you just have to trust in the court. That's kind
Yep.
of the deal, isn't it?
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's. Look, I mean,
I,
it's.
I I think it doesn't affect anything that we're about to do. I think it will be the big topic for next summer, though.
Yeah, well, what it means is that we need to keep our system private then.
Yeah, because we can't unprivate it.
Oh, well, I guess I'll keep going. Feature complete gives me hope. I'll
Yep.
keep going with the triggers and then I'll turn on auth, I guess. But I'll
Yep.
get triggers going and then you and I will have a chat and I'll pick the next thing to be done,
Yeah.
right?
Cool. And are we at the AOB thing? Because I've
What's
got
AOB?
any other business. Mercury, you just brought up, and
Yeah, yeah.
Kimi 2, the new OS model. It's quite interesting.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. Okay, well, this
It
was
was only two
cool
two days ago. Yeah.
because it doesn't do tokens serially, it does them all parallel like an image. Like this.
Yeah. It was. I gave it some gnarly problems, and I was trying to be as much of a pain in the arse as I could, as ambiguous as I could, and really, it's really fast.
It's screaming fast, eh?
Uh, and um, single shot, it was really, really impressive.
It's quite smart and it's quite fast and its resource requirements are tiny. And I was just wondering, is this what you were meaning about the DeepSeek image training thing?
No,
No?
because no, the DeepSeek OCR is based on pixels, but it's got a similar design philosophy
Right.
in that Well, there's two things. Is what do we mean by a token? Now, a token could be anything. We've chosen words, and we've got a certain amount of performance. What DeepSeek OCR was saying is, hey, can a pixel be a token? And they were getting really remarkably high speeds with only a small drop in the KPIs,
Right.
even by scanning a PDF and putting it in as an image, which is really interesting.
Hmm.
And so, what they were arguing is maybe we should look at uh, on the training level, tokens don't necessarily need to be words.
Hmm.
It could be any piece of information. But I think when I was looking at it, this is the second part, which is how do you process the tokens once known, um, and having to wait for the previous word to resolve before going into the next word is a bit lame, but lame, in the background of being really awesome. Um, if that makes sense. I think it's a really interesting thing, but I've not looked deeply into it. But I have used it, and it was like very very
Hmm.
fast.
It sounds like the future. Um, okay, I also wanted to show you this Git based or Git backed task management system because you're often doing to do or task based things and like what's next, right?
Yeah.
And it would seem that maybe what's next is not as complex a problem as I had once thought, where actually it's really just a task management system of which there are many. This one just so happens that you can run it on a CLI and it's in Git. And so that makes it a perfect candidate for Codex to use. So instead of being prompted sort of openly to use its context window as the task management system, it could use this tool and it could read the files directly where needed, or it could use the CLI commands and it would give it more structure in how it checked things, and it would always have a what's next? Well, this thing. Like you can hook up background agents and trigger agents to do research on tasks, deduplicate them, re-rank them.
Is this it's interesting. Is this the presentation there where there's a folder structure which can be read and then you can ask this, or is this what the clunky version I had running, which would suggest priorities based on the threads of me saying, "Yeah, I'm not really bothered by that," for
Well,
example.
yeah, so where I see this fitting in is that the background agents would be looking at your sort of sloppy chatter and your implications, and it would be managing curating this task list in the background. And then whenever you asked about tasks, it would refer to this structured data format.
All right, okay. So this is just a very useful way because it's Git based. Um, we can mount that in agents, and you could
Yeah,
have the different buckets. I think I had like home, work, leisure was the one I tested
right,
on.
right.
Three different buckets, and it's like, what's next? Just
Yeah,
to balance the priorities.
yeah. There isn't really a universal task management system. I'm sure humans would have found it by now if there was. So it really comes down to
Possibly.
personal preference and
Yeah.
very much just English based rules that you put in over time. And so you would maintain these tasks, but you'd also maintain a separate list of rules, which are the distilled prioritizing rules or operating rules, the business rules of the
Uh-huh.
system, so that the task system was really just the spreadsheet or the accounting ledger, but how to prioritize and all that was all just plain English that was built up over time.
Huh. Okay,
And then I think that
that's
the what's next becomes actually really simple because you never need to really know that this program is running under the hood. I mean, you could take a look if you want, but
yeah, that's quite useful because when I did the test, I just let it flop to whatever repo folder structure it wanted.
mm, this is
Um,
this is cleaner because it's like you couldn't flop wrong.
how would we get an agent to store it in an instance, a running instance of this? Because this is big code, right?
Yeah. Well, it'd be the same as like I imagine using an agent to run Ledger for doing plain text accounting,
All right.
where you're just like you give it working instructions and you tell it to use um, the Ledger CLI to make sure that things that's just the test, like that's how you test the code base in inverted commas.
Uh-huh.
And same for this, you're like your tool is dtask, only use dtask.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't
Okay.
think that's very hard at all for an agent to grasp.
No, no. Wonder if it's better or worse than letting the agent just flop to whatever folder structure it wants.
It'd be better because the issue you would face is that as you want to have more and more agents pull from that data structure and react to that information, then the risk of erroneous or deviant operation becomes higher. Plus, if the task count got into the millions, doing like effective searching on it
Yeah,
and
the context. Yeah,
like
yeah.
narrowing it down becomes it's sort of just better to have a bit of baked code to help you out for efficiency reasons.
So I'm assuming there would be an instance of DS task running
Mm,
somewhere. You've got permissions to it, and you just
yeah.
point
Do you want
something at
me? Do you want me to put?
extractor.
Yeah. Do you want me to install this in the images that the agents run on,
Yeah, I
or
can
do you want
play
to?
around with that. It's not a priority at the moment
All right.
because well, it's not above triggers and all.
No. So what I'll do is I'll add ledger and ds task to the images, and then that way you get because we need to do ledger because we got to do some accounting soon, you and me, and then also dtask sounds like just an easier way to do task management.
Yeah, and assuming again, you can well never do what you're doing at the moment, which is cognitive load. If there's an agent that understands DS task
Mm,
and you can talk to it in NL,
mm,
then yeah,
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 that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. All right, well, that's it for me, buddy. That's all.
yeah, cool. Well, this Kimi K2,
Yeah.
it just popped up on my feed this morning, so I've not looked at it too much. But but number one, it is another Chinese open source model.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
saw this on. I did see this on OpenRouter. It was doing really bloody well.
yeah, I think it's from Moonshot. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there you are. Yeah, so I'm gonna have a look at that. But it's not individual models, right? It's the trend, and there seems to be a trend of open source, really quite fast and powerful models coming out. Oh, there it is. Moonshot AI Turbo. Is that the same? I'm not sure. Oh no, it's at the top. What's the difference between that and the one further down?
Oh, these are different providers, so you get different pricing and you get different throughputs.
Oh, right. Okay.
So like these guys are smoking. Moonshot AI Turbo.
Yeah. So, Yeah, it's well, let me, is this the right thing? Du- 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 du. Let me put this on the screen
All
again.
right.
I've not researched this at all. It just came up in my feed a couple hours ago. But what to strike my mind was look at the Committee 2 on Humanities last exam. It's like open source model that's faster, that does better. I don't think they probably are cherry picking a bit on the KPIs. I
Still
don't know.
though, still like the
Yeah,
browser comp. Um, Man, that's some rocking scores.
it is, isn't it?
Look at the agentic coding score. Whew.
Yeah. So new model popped up. I didn't see this coming up. I just didn't know the word Kimi two Kimi K two till this morning. It was like okay, um, really worth a look. So I'll have a wee look see about that. But again, um, all right. So it's from Moonshot AI, but um, what I don't know yet is how they trained it, but I suspect it's going to be something like DeepSeek R2, where this is used a previous model to train the model, because how could they afford to make it open source otherwise? It's like, and it's getting a really interesting humanities last exam score. So next time we talk, I'll know more about it. But just wanted to see if you'd
Right. So
heard.
yeah, like I guess that would really be good to have hooked up to our harness so that we could immediately run like
Yeah,
evals should
exactly.
trigger as soon as a new model lands. An agent should be like, "Here we go. This is how we plug it in. Okay, plugged in, nice and good. Okay, next, let's rerun some evals. Is it better at this, better than that?" And then because these external evals, what they do, but really it's like our tasks. Like we need our tasks. We don't
Yeah.
have our own evals. It's kind of shitty.
Unless you're a professional solver of humanities last exam, you don't really care about that. It's a proxy.
Nah, it's a proxy, right? And often like the taste of the model is kind of what we care about too, but these benchmarks don't cover that.
Yeah.
Um, can I stop recording?
Yeah, go for it.
I have run out of time.
Time.
The devil.